He served his country as a captain in the United States Marine Corps. His military specialist was intelligence. He portrays both Patrick Henry and George Washington. He's a direct ancestor. His direct ancestor served with George Washington at Valley Forge. He's been awarded the George Washington Honor Medal by Freedom Foundation at Valley Forge. Please welcome Patrick Henry.
Good afternoon. March 23rd, 1775, there was a special meeting of the Virginia Provincial Council, House of Burgesses, Commonwealth of Virginia, to take up a number of issues. There's a rumor been circulated that Patrick Henry, myself, was going to make a rather radical proposal. Now, keeping in mind that at this point in time we had been laboring under 10 years under a reign of terror by King George III. We have already had some acts of violence of bloodshed, and we have petitioned the king and petitioned the king and petitioned the king. On March 23rd, 1775, I rose and made this motion. Mr. Chairman, I move that the colony of Virginia be placed into a state of readiness, and to that end, I recommend we raise a militia, 2 men from each colony to form such militia. There are lots of shouts of treason throughout the delegates, but my motion was seconded by 2 fairly well-known Virginians, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. We have a very long, heated debate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the next several minutes, I want you to go back in time and pretend that you're a delegate at this convention, because you are going to vote on my motion. Can you still vote in America? Anyway, you're going to have an opportunity to vote, so pay attention. So there's a long, heated debate, and I raise and make a summation speech on behalf of my motion. The question before the House is one of awful moment to our country. And to me, it is a simple question. It is either freedom or slavery. And due to the magnitude of this subject, it ought to be the freedom of the debate, because it's only by this we're going to arrive at the truth and thus fulfill our awesome responsibility to God and to our country. For me to hold back now my thoughts at the risk of offending some of you, I would consider it an act of treason towards my country and an act of disloyalty against the God of heaven, whom I revere above all earthly kings. You know, it is natural for men to engage in fond illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against the painful truth and listen to that song of sirens, lull us to sleep, and transform us into beasts. Are these the acts of wise men engaged in a great arduous struggle for liberty and freedom? Are we to be counted among those who, having eyes, see not, having ears, hear not, those things most concerning their temporal salvation? Well, for my part, regardless of the anguish of spirit it may cause, I want to know the worst, the truth, so that I can prepare for it. And I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. And judging by the past, I want to know what has there been in the conduct of the British ministry these past 10 years, which has given some of you so much hope. Was it that insidious smile which accompanied our last petition? Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed by a kiss. And I ask you how this graceful reception of our last petition compared to those warlike activities which govern our land and darken our coast. Are a fleet of armies and navies necessary to win back our reconciliation? Do not deceive yourselves. These are acts of implementation and subjugation, the last acts before warfare. And what have we to offer against her? Well, we could try argument. We've only been trying that for 10 years. What new terms should we offer that have not already been exhausted? Should we offer further entreaty and supplication? We have done everything that could be done to avert this storm that's approaching. We've petitioned, we've remonstrated, we've supplicated, and we've cast ourselves at the foot of the throne and begged its interposition to resist the tyrannical hands of Parliament and the ministry. Our petitions, slighted. Our supplications, disregarded. Our remonstrances, physical violence, and we have been spurned with contempt at the foot of the throne. In vain, after these things, do some of you still have fond illusions of hope? There is no longer any room for hope. If we would be free, if we need to hold inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have so long competed, if we need not basely to abandon the noble cause for which we have so long endured, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, then we must fight! Yes. I repeat it, we must fight!
Yeah.
Right on.
A call to arms and an appeal to the God of hosts is all that we have left.
Sir, I say reason, restraint. We are far too weak to fight. We are ill prepared to engage in such a battle. We need more time to prepare.
The British army is the mightiest army in the world. If we are to fight them now, defeat is certain.
Sir, we are unorganized, under-equipped, and lacking in sound military skills. We must be stronger before engaging in battle.
You tell us that we are weak, unable to fight such a formidable opponent. Well, when are we going to be any stronger? Next week? Next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and a British soldier is stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Or shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying on our backs, hugging the fan of hope, until our enemy is bound us hand and foot? We are not weak. If we would but make use of the natural resources which the God of nature hath placed at our disposal. 3 millions of people armed in the glorious cause of liberty. We are invincible against any force which our enemies can send against us. And besides, we do not fight our battles alone, because there is a just God. Who presides over the destinies of nations, and who'll raise up friends to fight our battles for us. The battle does not go to the strong alone. It goes to the active, the vigilant, and the brave. Besides, gentlemen, it's too late for an election. Even if we were base enough to desire it, there can be no retreat from this contest now. Our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. War is inevitable, and I say, let it come. I repeat, let it come.
Peace! Peace is the best solution.
I beg you, we need to seek a peaceful resolution to the matter.
It's in vain to extenuate this matter, gentlemen. You may well cry, peace, peace. There is no peace. The war's begun. The next gale from the north is going to bring to our ears the sound of resounding arms. And our brethren, they're already in the field. So why are we standing here idle? What is it you wish? What is it you would have? Is life so dear? Or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others of you may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. I'm now going to call for the vote on my motion. If you're in favor of it, when I say in favor, you will shout aye. If you're opposed, you will shout nay. All those in favor of my motion of raising the militia, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Nay. Would it surprise you to know that the actual vote was 65 in favor and 60 against? In the beginning of the war with Great Britain, less than 4% supported it. At the height of the war, when things are going well, only 25% supported it. A full 1/3 gave material aid and comfort to the enemy, and the rest didn't really care. They changed sides back and forth depending on what's happening, and I suggest to you, things have not changed that much in your country today.
Right.
But here's the question. We, as some of the delegates said, we had no standing army in 1774. We are unorganized. We are undisciplined. George Washington has 1 year to raise an army. The mightiest army in the world is already on our shore. How could we possibly win? And I suggest to you, is because this was a Christian revolution in every sense of the word. Jesus says, before you fight, you must protest. We actually protested 11 years. Then he says you must flee. The enemy's all around us. There was no place for us to go. Then he says you can fight. The last thing that Jesus Christ says to his disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane, Luke 32, verses 33, 34, 35. When I sent you into the world, did you lack for anything? No, Lord, nothing. Well, let he who has a purse and also a bag, let him take it along, and let he who has no sword, let him sell his purse and buy one. You want to know where your Second Amendment comes from? Jesus Christ. Well, I think it's a pretty good authority. How much time? Okay. I only have 5 minutes. I want to what I'm going to do right now, I think it's appropriate. I'm going to give you my 5.5-hour non-stop speech attacking the Constitution. I was scared to death of it. I'll tell you my main concerns in less than 5 minutes, and you tell me if I had any reasons to be concerned. It has been said that this new document is full of wonderful features, but I must confess when I look at it, I find it full of danger. It squints towards a monarchy. Your president may easily become king. He has the army, and he has the power of his purse. It would be foolish, so salute him as a monarch. Away with your president, because he may seize the first auspicious moment to accomplish his hidden design. And your Senate, since when is the rule of minority or to overturn the rule of a majority? But then we are told that Those whom we elect to public office would never do anything not in our best interest. Under this new set of legislation, you will now have two sets of tax gatherers. Under the watchful eye of our state legislature, we see how the sheriffs and his henchins suck out commissions and fees. And if they do under this, under our watchful eye, how can we keep our eyes on another set of tax gatherers? Armed with this new legislation, they will come into your home, measure and meet and tax out your substance. Where is your check on the judiciary? If you do not put a check on the judiciary, you will one day live under judicial tyranny. But my biggest fear about this new form of government is where is your right to bear arms? I predict if this legislation passes, there will not be one musket left in the state of Virginia. Your arms, where you can defend yourselves, will be in Congress, who may or may not decide to arm you. So what resistance could be made? It would be folly. You read about a riot act in a country that's considered one of the freest in the world, where its citizenry fear to gather in large numbers by being shot by a hired soldiery. I predict you will one day see that act in America. Can you imagine what I said in the other 4 hours and 55 minutes? You want to know how you got your Bill of Rights?
Right
It
there.
was a political deal. How much time? Ms. Mitchell? Okay. You know what happened? Okay. The first vote to adopt the Constitution of Virginia, and by the way, oh, you're going to love this one based on, see, it sounds like somebody you know in the last few years. Mr. Madison says, look, we need to pass this Constitution now. We can worry about amendments later. He wanted to take 3 days. We're 4 weeks into this. We went through this document, the Constitution, line by line. We had 42 amendments. First votes to adopt it with amendments. It barely failed. Madison votes against it. So the next one's to adopt it with no amendments. It barely passes, but Madison voted for it. He said that we would support it for Congress. Folks, the first political promise ever made in your history and probably kept. He said, I will do my best to get these amendments through Congress. To his credit, by the time he got back, there were 109 amendments to the Constitution. Just the 17 in the committee, 12 got through and 10 passed. And my parting question to you, although you really don't have a Bill of Rights anymore, the Patriot Act and everything else did away with it, but my question is this. Think about the document and then think, what if you did not have your Bill of Rights? What type of government would you be living under right now? So my parting words to you is Paul Galatians 5:1. It was for your freedom that Christ died. Stand firm and never again be subject to a yoke of bondage. God bless you, and God please bless the Republic of the United States.
Now, I've heard in my 2 years here about that. That's my first time witnessing that long. It was incredible. I loved the interaction too. I felt like I was there. I don't know about you guys, but I did. So now, you know, the next individual I'm going to introduce, we were connected on Facebook for a little while before we finally met one another at an event in Georgia. And I was so excited to hear that he was actually keynoting today's first Arizona State Tea Party Convention, first in the nation for any state actually. K. Carl Smith, I'll read for you a little bit about who he is. Some of you have heard of him. And if you haven't ever heard him speak, you're in for a treat. The website Red State, one of the great conservative websites out there, said K. Carl Smith is one of the most influential people in America you have never heard of. Most certainly, K. Carl is one of the most important people, grassroots conservatives, and Republican Party leaders should be listening to right now. A former U.S. Army officer, Kay Carl, is the president and founder of the Frederick Douglass Republicans, and author of the best-selling book entitled Frederick Douglass Republicans, The Movement to Reignite America's Passion for Liberty. In 2011, an upper-level executive of the NAACP, who wishes to remain nameless, read Kay Carl's book and commented, "If the message in Kay Carl's book gets on a national level, the Democrat Party would be toast and President Obama would be history." You know what that means? It's not even it out, right? It was Kay Carl's Frederick Douglass Republican message that inspired Louisiana State Senator Albert Guillory's party switch from Democrat to Republican. Here's what Senator Guillory said about Kay Carl. "A year ago, after months of soul searching and extreme discomfort with Democrat Party stances on marriage, abortion, guns, and work, Kay Carl helped me find comfort in the GOP's values. Then he helped me articulate my need to change. As I write these words, I recall my turmoil and pain, and I thank God for sending Kay Carl to my rescue." You might have seen Kay Carl in 700 Club, The Blaze, Fox News, Huckabee Show. He is featured in Reverend C.L. Bryant's Runaway Slave documentary, and now we get the honor and pleasure of hearing him here in Arizona. Welcome, Kay Carl Smith.
Thank you so kindly. You're so kind. It is great to be in the great state of Arizona and be in your community. This is my first time in the state and first time in the city of Phoenix. So it's a pleasure to be here. It is an honor for me to be here. I don't take this lightly. Whenever I get a chance to go speak, I go and speak. I'm not going to be like Jonah and take a cruise. I'm going to go speak when God sends me somewhere to speak. If you are a veteran, let me say to you that on behalf of a grateful nation, thank you for your service. Yeah. To your country. And if you are a spouse or a parent or someone that serves in our services, thank you so much for your sacrifice. Last week I was putting my thoughts together as to what I was going to talk about when I said, when I get to Arizona, what am I going to talk about? What's needed? Well, I'm not going to use my notes. I want to talk from the heart to the heart about what we can do to win. What we can do to win. As conservatives, what can we do to win more local elections? What can we do to win the hearts and minds of Americans and inspire more people to join the ranks of our movement? What can we do to win to change the political culture in this country? There are three challenges facing the conservative movement, as I see it. If we fail to find an answer to these three challenges, we are toast. We'll never win the White House again. Challenge number one is this. We must find a way how to inspire more blacks, more Latinos, more Asians, more women, and young people to join the ranks of the conservative movement. Most Americans are conservative at heart. They're not voting that way, but they're conservative at heart. A Gallup poll study came out not long ago. They said, but most Americans identify themselves as conservatives, not liberals. As a matter of fact, I contend, I think Lenin said this. Lenin said on one occasion, most of the people who support communism are not even communists. Most people who support liberal policy of the Democrat Party are not even liberals. They vote based on family tradition and all that kind of mess. They're not voting their values. So we got to find a way how to share our message where that message will not fall on deaf ears. We don't have a message problem, we have a messaging problem. A messaging problem. It falls on deaf ears. Number two, we got to find a way how to defeat the vile and malicious attacks of the left-wing propaganda machine. They call us racist. They say we're sellouts. We're insensitive to the poor. We hate women. They throw all that against the wall. And it sticks because they are the masters and the wizards of propaganda. They accuse us what they are really guilty of. And so when they accuse us, before we even say anything, we have been discredited and our message falls on deaf ears. Americans have not given up on conservatism. They haven't given up. They agree with us. But the way we try to share our message of conservatism, it falls on deaf ears because we're losing the propaganda battle. It's not the battle of ideas where we have a problem. That's the second battle. It's the battle of propaganda. Number 3, we gotta find a way how to take control of the political narrative. We lost it. We had it at one time. Republican Party and conservatives at one time had control of the narrative. We gave it away.
Yeah, we did.
Do you know when? I need to share this with you. I know I'm in Arizona, but here's the 800-pound elephant that is in the room that nobody wants to talk about, but we gotta talk about it so we can have a better understanding how we can overcome it. 1960, Richard Nixon received 32% of the black vote. 32%, 1960. 4 years later, the presidential candidate, Republican nominee, received 6%.
Yeah.
1964. Correct?
Yeah.
Who was that presidential nominee on the Republican side? Senator Barry Goldwater. Follow me here. Senator Goldwater opposed the '64 civil rights legislation based on constitutional grounds. He was not a racist like the Democrats.
Right. Well,
They were against it based on racism. Goldwater opposed it based on constitutional grounds. Matter of fact, Goldwater was an integrationist. When he inherited his family's hardware store business at the age of 37, he was one of the first business owners to hire black cashiers.
right.
Goldwater was a member of the NAACP.
Yeah.
And as a member of the NAACP, he helped fund the legal challenges against segregation. Goldwater was not a racist, he was an integrationist.
Right.
Goldwater is the founder of the Arizona Air National Guard,
Yeah.
which started as an integrated unit. But he opposed the legislation based on constitutional grounds. He went out and got the opinion of a Yale University professor, a guy by the name of Robert Burke. Robert Burke wrote a 75-page opinion to help Goldwater with his decision. Goldwater voted against the bill, Civil Rights Act of '64, based on Title II and Title VII. One that dealt with accommodations and dealt with employment. Follow me here. What was Goldwater's nickname? Mr. Conservative.
Yeah.
What was the title of the book that Goldwater wrote? The Consciousness of a Conservative. Follow me now. To add insult to injury, at the 1964 Republican Party National Convention at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, who did the Republican Party nominate as a presidential candidate? Senator Barry Goldwater. So the party of Lincoln, the party of emancipation, nominated a person who voted with the Democrats, not for the same reason, but he sided with them. Follow me? When that happened in '64, black folks felt alienated. They felt politically homeless. And they left the Democrat Party, went to the Democrat Party en masse. My gosh, what we gonna do? The Republican Party don't want us. And the Democrat Party's worse. That was July 16th, 1964, the day that Barry Goldwater received accepted the party's nomination. On that same day, Dr. King issued a press release. Dr. King was the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, 1964. Let's go back to 63. 1963 was the March on Washington. 1964, Dr. King issued a press release. So in 1964, Dr. King had a household name. In that press release, Dr. King said, it is disastrous and unfortunate that the Republican Party has nominated Senator Barry Goldwater as its presidential candidate. You go down further in that press release, this is online, brother, we can Google this. Go further down, I have a copy with it on my iPad if you want to see it. You go down further in that press release, Dr. King said, he is not a racist, Dr. King said of Barry Goldwater, but his views give aid and comfort to the racists. And Dr. King said, I have no option but to encourage all Negroes and all white people goodwill to vote against Goldwater. Goldwater got 6% of the vote. Dr. King said, what Dr. King was saying was this, that Goldwater wanted to be so constitutionally right, but he was morally wrong. Before Goldwater passed away, he regretted how he had voted, and he said that was a mistake. The point I'm making is this. That's when the Democrats took control of the narrative. Yeah. The party that gave us segregation. They gave us Jim Crow. Yep. They gave us black codes. They supported slavery of black Americans. Now they have control of the narrative. Right. They call us racist. And they don't plan on giving up that control. To keep control of the narrative, Democrats do two things. They accuse and they rewrite history. Always. They accuse us of racism. We hate the poor, women haters. They throw all that stuff against the wall, like propaganda stuff. It has no merit, but they throw it against the wall to discredit us. And they rewrite history. The perfect example how they rewrite history is this. Your homework assignment for the night. Go to the Democrat Party's website. It's democrats.org. When you go to their website, on the home page it says about. Sublink says our history. On that page you will find this. Some of y'all got your smartphones right here. You can look it up. It says this, and I quote. This is Democrat Party's website. For more than 200 years, we have led the fight for civil rights, workers' rights. I said, what the hell, slave workers? Women's rights. No, so, health care. They accuse and they rewrite history. Those are demonic techniques to gain power. Amen. Right. They're demonic. They accuse us. They accuse us. Revelations 12 and 10. Yeah. Satan sits at the throne of God all day long. All night long, he is the accuser of the brethren. Right. Satan rewrites scriptures. The leaders of the Democrat Party, they rewrite history. Yeah. Why? Keep control of the narrative. Okay, Carl, how do we get it back? How do we trump this race card? How do we defeat the class warfare attacks? How do we inspire more people to join the ranks of the conservative movement? How do we inspire people to vote their values? See, the RNC has it wrong. RNC is trying to recruit folks to become Republicans. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to recruit somebody to become Republican. You want to inspire them to vote their values. Because we need people from both parties in the first place. Go out here and try to get a Baptist to become a Catholic. It's the same type of emotions. When you make that switch, you're going to have to deal with your family. So don't try to get somebody to become a Republican. Inspire them to vote their values, because when they start voting their values, as a Democrat, they still vote for my candidate because they vote their values. What's the answer? To trump this race card, to beat the propaganda machine of the left, to inspire more Americans to join our movement, which we must do. Karl Rove has it partially right with his air attacks, these political ad campaigns. He's sending out through the atmosphere, what I call a Tokyo Road strategy. That's not how you win the war. The way you win the war, you gotta have a powerful, trained, and engaged ground force who know how to engage. Knock on doors, talk to your friends, your family members about your values without the fear of being called a racist or a sellout. What's the answer, Kate Carl? There is an answer. I can say there's only one answer. If we are serious about defending liberty, about defending the Constitution, if we're serious about promoting entrepreneurship, helping people to understand that the best thing they can do for themselves is take responsibility for themselves, the only answer is Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is the bridge over the abyss of racism and class warfare that's been created by the communist left. You remember Frederick Douglass? Born 1818 as a slave in Maryland. Frederick Douglass was born below poverty. Frederick Douglass was born below poverty. See, Dr. Ben Carson and Herman Cain, they were born into poverty. But when you're born into slavery, you don't own your own body, you're born below poverty. Douglass started off as a sub-0%. Never owned a pair of shoes until he was 8 years old. Never slept in bed until the age of 10. He was homeschooled, self-taught. Homeschooled, self-taught. That lets you know that formal education system is a bunch of crap. Fast forward a little bit. Frederick Douglass escaped from slavery in 1838 at the age of 20. He escaped from slavery in 1838 at the age of 20. What did he escape from? Well, slave master was providing him with clothing, shelter, food, health care,